you want to discard a drive and make sure all that data is gone? Do you know that formatting really doesn't wipe the data from a drive? Stay tuned. I'm going to show you several options on how to make sure that data is really gone. Welcome to another edition of Tech Bites with Ron Nutter, your home for all things relating to smart home technology. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to securely wipe a drive before disposing of it. And if we got a little bit of time, I'll even show you how to wipe the free space so that if you're sure everything's off or you don't want to wipe out the operating system, we can do that too. Hi, I'm Ron Nutter, and we're going to be working on this together. This content is also available as an Amazon Flash briefing or podcast. Please go to techbiteswithronnutter.com for more information. For any items mentioned in this episode, there are affiliate links in the description. If you click on these links, I will get a small commission, but that won't affect the price you pay for the item. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please click on subscribe now and enable notifications. If this video helps you or provides value, please click on that like button, thumbs up. Here's what we're going to be covering in this video. 1, how not to wipe a drive. And I'm guilty of this as anybody. Then we're going to talk about the required tools. I'm going to walk you through how to wipe the drive. And then if you don't really want to wipe the drive, but want to make sure that all your unused space is actually clear, then we'll talk about how to wipe the deleted files as well. Well, now what we're going to talk about at this point, and this is probably a hat to some of you, and some of us may not have really had to think about this. I'll be one of the first ones to admit that my idea of wiping a drive was running format or pulling F-disk out and destroying the partition and recreating it maybe with a different size and then destroying it again and coming back thinking I was wiping everything. And I've had an education a long time ago that that is really not the case. All format does, there's 2 parts of a drive. You've got what I'll call the file table, and you've got the data. All that's really going on is when you do a format, especially on an already formatted drive, you're just wiping out that directory table, and you're really not wiping out. You can still get to the information with the right tools. So what we're going to talk about is 2 things. What the tools, well, 3 things really. We're going to talk about the required tools, not that expensive. Most of them are open source or free. Then we're going to have some sort of interface. Again, not that expensive, $30 or less on Amazon. Then we'll talk about wiping a drive and then how to wipe deleted files. Because just because you've erased a file or deleted it, it's still there. So really that can be a rude awakening when somebody starts to recover files. And especially like one time when I did and was helping an attorney friend, you learn to be very careful because there's something that you don't want to come back on anybody. So it's just a matter of being safe. So if you're going to donate that old computer to a thrift shop or something where they can make some money on it, make sure that you're as protected as you can be. And that's where you may just want to wipe the drive and put a GUI Linux on it, or in that way after you've wiped the drive. Again, those are all things to think about. So let's jump over to what the required tools are going to be. Well, as you can see, I got a little bit of stack of drives that I've accumulated over time. So there's some things that I'm going to need to go through with all my drives because I just want to be on the safe side. So having shared my future work project, let's get some things moved away here and we'll get them off to the side. Now, what we've got here is a USB drive interface. And you can say, well, Ron, I've already got some. Well, yes, but where this one is a little bit different, once I can get it out here, is this one has your old style IDE interface. Then you've got like the one I would see used in a laptop drive. And then you've got the SATA connector. So you got a little bit of everything. And it's set up on a USB 3.0 connection. So we're good to go there. They do send you a wall wart power supply. And especially if you're on an older MFM drive where you've got that kind of connector sitting on the back, you've now got a way to take the power and get it distributed over there. So now that we've laid that aside and you've seen what it's going to take, let's go ahead and move on to the other tools that you're going to need to have available. Okay, there's going to be 2 different tools that we're going to be looking at. And this is not just to say these are the only 2 tools. I'm running this on my Windows 10 Intel NUC. There are tools you can put on a bootable USB drive. You should be able to do this from a Mac. There's any number of possibilities, but I'm trying to keep this thing at a common denominator to make it easy for everybody, because my thought process is going to be to have a machine is kind of your go-to wiping machine, and yet protect yourself as best you can from wiping the wrong machine. But that's going to come in time, and just don't rush into this. Just take your time. Now, CBL Data Recovery has made this available free to anybody. So they're looking at this of helping a possible client or customer today, and maybe getting some business from you later on. Now, the other option is something called Eraser. So this will be something you use where you can go to your drive that you're thinking of donating to somebody. If it's going to a family member, you can probably leave them with whatever operating system is on there, but you want to go through all the deleted files and make sure that those are all wiped. So those are two different things that we're going to look at. So let's go ahead and get started with the Eraser program, since I've got a drive I want to look at first, and then we can actually go to totally wiping one as the next step. Changing the order just a little bit, but nothing that we can't handle, right? Let's get started. Okay, first we're going to go with wiping deleted files. So I've already got my drive interface plugged in, and since this is an older, well, not an old drive, it's a laptop drive, and it's 20 gigs, so that should tell you it's old. I'm going to plug this drive into the interface, making sure that I get the pins all lined up. And then once I do that, I'm going to turn the power switch on, and we should see something come up here just a minute. Show up there right away. Okay, it just didn't advertise anything. So we've got, all this brings back memories. I see files in here I haven't used in a long time, but also want to make sure that I get a backup of these before I do anything else, because once you've deleted this, then you're pretty much committed at that point. So what we're going to do is we'll go over here to the downloads directory, and I'm going to open up a separate window just because I can. And then we will go to downloads, and then we will go to Eraser. And this is an executable, so it's going to take it just a bit to get set up, but nothing that, and we'll say typical, because there's no reason that we've got to not go for that at this point. And the Eraser website, I got the latest drive, the latest file that they had available, so it should be, there we go, and finish button to exit the setup wizard. So there's Eraser down at the bottom, and we will minimize that window for right now and go into Eraser, and we will start this process all over again. New task, 20 gigabyte test. We will run immediately, and we will add data, and we're going to say unused disk space. And with this, you can see that there is a variety of options to go with. You can go to default. If you want to go DoD standard with 3 passes, keep in mind the more passes you do, it's going to take longer to wipe the drive. But again, where this is not a race, we're more concerned about getting it done right. So we'll click OK, and we'll click OK. And now we'll get started. You may want to know about. So if we right click on the test that's running, and if we go to view task log, imagine my surprise when I saw that there was a nice warning. Now it says session started here, so it shows you when it got started, and it gives you severity. But this is what surprised me. It picked up on that it had system restore or other information going on. So this is something to be aware of. And something else that you want to look into before you get started is go into settings within Eraser, and by default it's going to be up here at Gutman 35 passes. So this is going to take a long time. So what you want to do is go down here And just to get used to it is go with one pass, but I would say definitely when you get started, especially if it's something that is very important, do the DoD level. If you really, at the base level DoD, which is at 3 passes, then you've got one that can be 7 passes, and if you're really concerned, then certainly 35 passes. So we'll go down here to pseudo-random, and of course now that was file erasure, and that's going to be fine for what we need at this point. And we'll do pseudo-random just to give you a sense for what's going on. And if you're like me, and patience may not be a virtue, something you can do to find out where this stands, because at one point it quit updating the status bar. So what we went through and did here is I just double clicked on the job and it brought up an erasure progress, and it's saying about half hour or so. So that's going to be something to just to give you an idea of where it stands. And as with any Microsoft progress bar, your mileage may vary, so this could take a little while. Okay, you can see it just finished. So it says with warnings. And I've looked at this when one of the earlier runs, and I think some of the warnings may be fairly benign. Well, had to make a judgment call because the software I was initially going to use didn't want to recognize the drive. So I had to move to something that would. So I'm looking at MiniTool Partition Wizard Free 12.3. Okay, so we've already got it up and running. And I verified, let's turn off that message, don't really need it. And I wanted to verify that I had the right drive selected, so I'll power off the external drive, disk 3 that we want to wipe. And we should see disk 3 come back up here momentarily. Fine. And we're going to select wipe disk, disk 3, fill with zeros. I mean, that's, at this point, I'm just doing this for demonstration, so I'll go back through and do a proper wipe later. And disk 3, okay, it's unallocated, and we're struggling closing other applications. Okay, everything else is closed, and the little drive light is active on the external drive, so we're doing good there. Now the expected result we should have after doing this is the drive should not be recognizable. When we plug it in, it might see something there, but since it will have not been partitioned because we're wiping out the partitions it's got, then okay, well, now it has completed. It took it about 45 minutes. Unfortunately, it didn't really give me a timestamp when it completed, but this one did right well. So it said it applied all the changes successfully. The drive is still showing, so this, the MiniTool Partition Wizard, is to the point that it does see the drive. Now it says 37.3 gigs. The drive says 40 gigs. Okay, what's 3 gigs or so between friends? So that is, nothing to complain about. We'll go down here, and let's see, what will let us wipe partition again? Yes, it will. So we can re-wipe it with something else to add just an additional level. So I think the first time I did it with fill sectors with 1s, you can do 0 and 1. So it's nice to know that you can go in and redo it. So if you really want to give it that additional precaution. Well, we've gone through 2 different ways of showing you how to either securely wipe the free space on the drive so that you can leave things running intact, but you can make sure that everything else is gone, to the other end, completely wiping a drive just like it's almost fresh from the factory. I do want to stress again that if you do have highly sensitive information on there, or if you're inventing stuff, or you're working on things very sensitive for a company and you go to dispose of the drive, your absolute best bet in that case is to physically destroy the media, because somebody with enough time might be able to get maybe a little bit back. I'm not saying they can't, but an ounce of caution is far cheaper than trying to deal with the aftermath. If you're watching this on YouTube, you will see videos on the screen that are similar to the one you just watched, or other content that YouTube thinks you might be interested in. If this video helps you or provides value, please click on that like button, thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please click on subscribe now and enable notifications. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.